I was just wondering whether we should be doing it for just 1 day a week or the whole 6 weeks or.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd recommend one day a week for 24 hours, and then during the 6 weeks, if you can do 12 to 16 hours a day. So 12 hours is just eating at night, and then you go to bed and you have breakfast, and you just don't eat anything after dinner. That's fairly simple. But the 16 hours would be then, so you do from dinner to lunch the next day. So it's just an extra, you wouldn't have breakfast, you just go until lunchtime, and just see how it works for you. There's no like absolute, but it is a letting go practice, no doubt. It helps you to let go of the idea that you need to be consuming food all the time. I found that really helpful when I started fasting, because up until that point, 3 meals a day, and like if you don't have 3 meals a day, there's something terribly wrong. Sort of, that was the really ingrained mindset, conditioned, as I realized from my upbringing, and my family are very like, breakfast, lunch at a certain time, tea. My parents have tea every day at a certain time, dinner. It's a very kind of, this whole food thing. And oh God, it's terrible if you miss a meal. That's that just doesn't happen. And so I remember doing it, and I was like, okay, so there's a little bit of resistance, but it was actually quite easy. I was like, okay, a little bit of hunger, 24 hours, no big deal. And then I started playing with it as I do, and I did a 10-day one once, 10 days, which was I mean, again, first 2 or 3 days, maybe you have some kind of withdrawal from food, and then I was actually in Mozambique at the time, and I was just I was writing, and I was doing some yoga, and there were no shops really. Well, I could have gone down to the village, but there were no like supermarkets, and so I was like, okay, well, until I leave, I'm going in 10 days, or is the plan. So I'm just gonna fast, and I felt actually really good, and I didn't miss the food. And on day 9, I think I did a run. I went for a run on the beach for about 45 minutes. So I was like, okay, it just shows you what's possible. And I said, so that's a big part of it. It's like kind of reconditioning your mind into the idea that you don't need continuous food, and actually you're quite capable of going for quite a long time without it. That's the primary reason. So it's a letting go practice. But secondarily, I don't know if you looked at that link, there are a whole lot of health benefits to fasting. Intermittent fasting has been shown to improve your immune system, to strengthen. We can go through it actually. It does all kinds of good things for the body, because what the body likes is intermittent. So if you do something always on, it gets used to that. Then you break that pattern. It helps your system to become more robust. So the idea of fasting is that you're doing it. You're interrupting the normal pattern. You're giving your body a chance to recover from food processing, because it takes quite a lot of energy to keep processing this food. So then all that energy can be used for other things, like detoxing your body and so on. So to me, it intuitively makes sense. And once you get into it, I mean, I just do it by default now. I'm working, and I have 1 meal a day and maybe 1 snack, and that's it. I'm not doing massive amounts of exercise at the moment. If I was exercising more, I'd probably have to eat a bit more, but I don't really, it's not, food has to cease to become a particular big issue. Hi, Elaine.
Well,
welcome officially to the course.
Sorry, I'm a little late.
That's okay. We're just talking about fasting.
Oh yeah.
So John was asking, how often should you do it? I'd recommend do 24 hours once a week, and then 12 to 16 hours a day. which means you might have dinner and then breakfast and don't eat in between. That's 12 hours.
Yes.
Or extend it until lunchtime. And
Okay, intermittent
goes.
fasting. Yeah.
Just see how it goes and observe. It's interesting to observe your thoughts and your emotions and your sensations that are going along with that. So if you're going, oh, like, I'm really hungry and that's stressing me, observe that. Okay, why is that sensation distressing you? Because it's really just a feeling in your stomach. Like that's all it is. Then we program to respond to that. Oh, no, I need food. I must go fill my stomach with food. And part of this is being able to observe that, step back and say, well, okay, it's just a sensation. I don't have to just automatically respond to it as I normally would. I can just kind of observe that and let it be for a few more hours and just be okay with that. And if you're doing other things and you're just in the flow, you just won't notice it. And I'm just fasting 12 to 16 hours a day all the time. It's just my kind of default pattern, because I'll get up and then I go into these sessions and then I might have something to eat sort of late afternoon, early evening. That's one meal a day. And then the rest, I might have a snack at night and that's it.
Okay.
And that's absolutely fine. For my current energy needs, that's fine. I don't need more food because I'm not doing massive amounts of exercise. But you know, it just becomes, it's like a new normal, just a default. I can live that way. Like my parents and family are like, oh, no, but that's dangerous and your blood sugar will drop. And it's really nonsense. Once you get used to it, like initially, you might have a little bit of that because your body's used to continuous food and calories coming in, but you reset to a new normal if you practice it. And I mean, there are people who fast, breatharians. Apparently, you can just breathe and they don't eat. I haven't verified that that's possible myself. I've done a 10-day fast, and I'm not sure if you've got an active life and you're really consuming a lot of calories. That's I think they have quite a sedentary existence. But the point is, there's other sources of energy. So this is just about another practice of letting go of some kind of attachment. A lot of people attach to food. If you can step away from that. So yeah, actually, you know what? I'm not that attached to food. I don't really need this food all the time, because it's part of the ego's construct. If you look at it, it's part of the idea is that I need some external sustenance, something outside of me to sustain me. I mean, isn't that just an ego setup? I'm not okay as I am. Every few hours I've got to eat, otherwise I'm going to die. This is the program. So again, it's part of just challenging that, but doing it with your actions. So going, okay, it's very easy to say, oh no, I'm not attached to food, and then you're feeding your face all the time. Part of it is to let go and actually just I'm walking the talk. I'm not actually that attached to food, so I'm not having to eat all the time. And in the practice you get the learning. These things are experiential. You don't get the learning if it's theoretical. Oh yeah, theoretically I get it, but in practice, I'm not actually willing to practice it. Well, you're not really going to learn very much.
What is the theory of it? I've heard a little bit about it, not a lot. What it actually does.
Oh,
to the benefits to the body. Can you just remind me what some of those are and what your own experience?
We can have a little look at it. So can you see? Let me know if you can see my screen. So I put a link into my email, which you also got this morning, and was also in the WhatsApp message. So he has 10 evidence-based benefits. So you cycle. The key is the body likes intermittent things. It likes intermittent. So you eat and then you fast, and so you change things. If you keep doing the same pattern over and over, you get used to it, and the body actually likes change. So the 16-8 and 5-2 method. So that's what 16-8 is fast for 16 hours and then eat in that 8-hour
8-hour period. Yes. Yeah. So are you having only one? Are you having 1 or 2 meals a day?
Yeah, one meal a day, and then just
It's one less thing
but I'm not exercising. You know, in past times, like if you're exercising more, I probably need to eat more. But I'm quite sedentary at the moment because I'm working on, 3 businesses. So I do some yoga and some swimming, just a little bit of exercise, but I'm not going and walking around and running and all the time. So I'm not consuming a lot of calories. So I don't need a lot.
Okay.
If I was
Okay.
doing more, I might need to eat more. But still, I mean, probably 2 meals a day would do it. I haven't had 3 meals a day for a very long time. So here's some of the benefits.
I like
It changes the
that.
functions
Yeah.
of hormones, cells, and genes. Several things happen in your body. For example, your body changes hormone levels to make stored body fat more accessible. Here's the thing. So now you start tapping into body fat rather than relying on current glucose energy. So you want to lose weight, just start fasting a bit because you teach your body to tap into your stored fat reserves. So your insulin levels drop significantly, which facilitates fat burning. Levels of human growth hormone can increase dramatically. High levels of this hormone facilitate fat burning and muscle gain. So that's what I've seen. You really do you change your system into a fat burning mechanism. And actually fat is a much better quality of energy than glucose. Most people are addicted to glucose. So if I don't get that hit of whatever I'm eating, and often it's complex carbohydrates, it's simple carbohydrates that give you a rush. So they're addicted to this rush of energy, and then the insulin levels spike up, and then they drop down. Because if your glucose goes too high, then your body produces insulin to sort it out. And if you keep overproducing insulin, you get diabetes. So, and that's a very, very common condition in today's world because people are overeating and they're eating the wrong stuff. So just doing this fasting would 12 to 16 hours would regulate their system and would start to get them tapping into fat reserves. You've got enough energy, average person, in their body to run the Comrades Marathon a couple of times on your fat reserves, depending on how fat you are. Some people might be able to run it many times, depending on what their body fat is. But if you could tap into that, and so that's the key. In fact, I once spoke to a runner, and he said, "Yeah, I ran the Comrades on water." And he said, I could feel, he didn't have any of the, the gels and the carbs and whatever. He just did it on water because
talk about belief systems.
Because, but he taught his body. So the mind and the body responds to the mind. He taught his body how to tap into these fat reserves. And he said, I could feel it like kicking in, and it was just sucking that fat. And that was what it was burning. And that's a slow release, very, very high quality, because fat is the most dense, dense in calories source of energy. So you've got all of this stored, and you just like tap into it. And that's you don't need continuous carbs. So that's why my energy levels are stable. I'm not dropping down and going, I'm feeling like.
So you don't have that sort of gluck when you have that feeling low energy, I must have something to eat. You don't have that.
Because I've trained my system to tap into fat reserves. And that's through this practice of intermittent fasting.
So it actually makes that very efficient.
Yeah.
That's potential in our bodies to do that.
Yeah. So our bodies are way more efficient than most people give them credit for. You do not need 3 meals a day. You really don't. But you just have to go through a little bit of discomfort to retrain it. Because if you're used to that, then it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, and you're going to feel like, oh, something's changing here. And then, of course, the ego has resistance there. Oh, no, we don't like change. Just carry on doing what you're doing, because that makes you comfortable and safe. So you're in your comfort zone. But all these practices I'm recommending are designed to take you out of your comfort zone. That's the whole point, in whatever way, shape, or form. So fasting is just another way. And it's quite a powerful way, because if you're letting go of the need for food, that's a major attachment to this world. I need some external thing to nourish my body. If I don't have that, I'm likely to suffer and to die. I mean, there's a belief system built in there. The ego's designed a system where we are reliant on the external world, and you want to try and break that reliance, which is an attachment in your mind. And That's what it's doing spiritually. But then you see with any key spiritual practice, you'll see huge benefits usually in the physical, because it mirrors. The one mirrors the other. You can't do something that's good for you spiritually and not have that reflect in the body. It just, unless there's so maybe you don't want to do 10 days, but I mean, that really didn't hurt me. I did a 10-day fast, and it was a good experience. I was glad I didn't, and I was like, yeah, really, it's not a problem. 10 days, I was like, okay, maybe I should start eating something.
Because nothing. Did you have nothing except water?
Yeah, just water. Yeah.
Because
so, I like to see what's possible. Yeah, that's possible. I probably could have gone longer, but I'd been invited to dinner. I was like, okay, well,
how did you feel?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, you feel light and you feel quite empty and you feel clean. But I did a run on day 9 of that fast. I ran, in Mozambique at Ponta Dora, and I ran along the beach for maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And I could feel like, okay, there's not much energy in my muscles, but I was able to do it. So it was pulling fat reserves. And I lost quite a bit of weight because it was just sucking my fat reserves. And then when I started eating it was like interesting, because it was just suddenly, wow, everything's being absorbed. Everything.
Yeah.
Like I eat for 3 days and there's nothing coming out the other end that tells you like everything's being used.
Yes.
So I think these things tune your system up. They make it more efficient and more robust, than just ongoing pattern.
What about, I've had a lot of pain in my body in about the last 2 years, especially in my feet, in my joints and my back. And I've been looking into so many ways to try and treat it. Do you think it could help that?
Yeah. I think definitely cellular repair. Look at the benefits. I mean, go and read this article. Body induces important cellular repair processes such as.
I'll have a look at it. I had to leave early this. I listened to last night. I got home quite late, and I just caught up on the session yesterday, and I was off early this morning, so I haven't had a chance. But I will.
When you have a chance, yeah.
I'll go through
links
it
in the WhatsApp message and the email. Beneficial changes in several genes and molecules related to longevity and protection against disease. So it reduces inflammation. Cellular repair, related to changes in hormones. So you're just using your body intelligently. Your body is a biochemical factory. You start to do these processes. You start to tune it up. So it becomes you're tuning your body into producing the right hormones. And so this idea that we need medicine and this external intervention of all kinds of chemicals and all kinds of substances that we need to take is really a false one, because our body is a biochemical factory. It's producing so like beyond what any pharmacy, any drug company can do, like chemicals that can hurt us, but if we tune it up and we treat it right, that can really benefit us, that allow the body to become much healthier, much more robust, boost your immune system, make you much more resilient to disease. And of course, we're not being told that in the COVID era. We've been told, no, you definitely need the vaccine, you definitely need the because it weakens you, and it makes you dependent on an external system. And of course, the whole spiritual path is to say, no, we're not dependent on the external world. Actually, it's all inside out. Our minds are powerful, and if we use our minds powerfully and consciously, then there's nothing to fear. We don't need to be fearing disease and infection, and because our system is very robust. And like people are like, oh, get it. Like, my system is seriously robust. It just like COVID is not going to touch me, whatever it is. I don't even necessarily believe there's a virus as such. I think there's symptoms, but I think the cause is disputable. But whatever it is, actually the best thing to do is tune your system up and boost your immune system.
So what do you think is the cause? Well, as a matter of interest, because obviously there's something out there, whatever it is. What do you think if it's not a virus?
I think, and this is my own theory, that our bodies respond to seemingly external threats. So that can be many things. It can be stress. It can be too many toxins in our body. It can be pathogens.
Yeah, but it's affecting many people. There is something
but
out
they've
there
just
that's
started beaming high frequency energy, 5G frequency energy around the planet. Okay, so you do that, and then suddenly you get an epidemic. Okay, are those connected? Quite possibly. I can't say for sure, but there's certainly evidence that would suggest, because we are electromagnetic beings. So you beaming 5G frequency into people, and if they're a bit vulnerable, they will probably have symptoms, right? So now that, because the body now reacts and it defends itself, and it produces these exosomes, which are kind of RNA mutations, and then they measure those and they say, oh no, that's the virus, but it's actually the effect, not the cause. And this is an alternative medical theory that you can go and look at. They've done studies, and there are serious virologists who concluded that an exosome and a virus are exactly the same thing. So it's not something external to you. It's an effect of the body. Okay, so now actually what you've done is you've inverted cause and effect, which is exactly what the ego does all the time. It inverts cause and effect, and it gets you to believe that the effect is the cause. So when I was reading that in the course 2 years ago, in the start, I was just like, oh, well, that's just classic. What an ego. I mean, it just makes sense to me that all is not what it seems. So people are getting symptoms, but what is the cause? Well, that's disputable. One doesn't know. And yet they're saying, no, the cause is this, and therefore you must take these measures. But what happens if it's false causation? If that's not true, then all of the measures you're taking to prevent it are also not true. And of course, then the whole system falls down, because the cause isn't true. So causation is critical, which is why the system resists any kind of challenge to its dogma, really. Oh, this is the cause. Anyone who challenges, oh no, you're a heretic. Well, really? Or am I just got an inquiring mind and saying, well, maybe there is another explanation? And that's good science. Good science questions. It says, well, we don't just accept dogma. We question and we challenge. And we say, well, maybe there's another explanation, because that keeps you open to progress. So what's happening isn't good. What's happening at the moment isn't good science. It's not good medical practice. It's not good science by scientific standards. To just accept a dogma and not question and not explore alternatives is not good science. And then they say, oh, well, we're being objective. Really? Is that objectivity to just say, no, that's the way it is and we're not open? When you said your brother, who's a medic, is not even open to any alternative view. That's not good science. No open-minded scientist would say, yeah, I'm totally closed. I think I've got the answer. Because science is about, as we've seen, always iterating. Say, well, maybe we don't have the full answer. Maybe there's more to learn here. Maybe one explanation, our current explanation doesn't actually fit the fact. Maybe there's another one. But then you see science, not pure science. It's influenced by political objectives and financial objectives, and so all of that comes into it. And then so that's not science anymore. That's seriously biased. Anyway, so that's we won't go too much.
Let's move on, because I don't want to hold the class back, and I will read that in my own time.
Yeah, I think it's all detailed here. It can reduce insulin resistance.
I'm very interested in this.
Help you lose weight and visceral fat.
I'm very interested to
can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. So there,
you see, there you go.
Maybe beneficial for your heart health. And it's all referenced. Look, all of this is referenced quite well. It's a well-referenced article.
This was the mail you sent this morning.
Yeah, it's in there, yeah, in the PS.
So every day you will send a mail with a link to the meeting as well.
Yeah. Always.
Okay.
There's always a joining button. You click the joining button, you'll come straight into those Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Reduces various cellular repair processes. It may help prevent cancer, has benefits for your brain, may help prevent Alzheimer's, interesting. And may extend your lifespan, helping you live longer. And then we see that from the yogis and stuff. So, these people don't eat, they certainly don't eat 3 meals a day. Sometimes they don't eat very often at all, and yet they have this extraordinary longevity. And so how do they do that?
Imagine how much money you could save as we could do other things with all that money and time, shopping, cooking.
That was part of my, in the masterclass, which you did listen to. I said, well, look, if you're not eating so much, you're going to save yourself money and time. So now you say, oh, I don't have time. Okay, well, if you're not eating, that's at least an hour a day saved, and maybe more, and money, and now
No
reallocate
more.
that to something
Much
more
more,
spiritual.
like with your, just the shopping time as well.
Shopping, cooking, yeah. So it's like
The washing
reorienting.
out.
Yeah.
No, it's a major hassle. I know. I've thought to myself, actually, before I even knew about any of this as well, it's like, surely we don't need to eat that much. It's crazy. What is all this eating? Why have we been designed in this way? Because it just somehow doesn't make sense.
Well, the ego's designed us to need food, and but
also
but
the
not,
social thing. It's very social.
But there's a peer pressure on us to like, oh no, you need to, like my family, oh no, if you don't have 3 meals a day, it's dangerous. And I'm like, that's just nonsense. It's just really, the research doesn't say so. But then they don't look at this kind of research. It's not like we're open to it, because there's a fixed belief and a pattern that goes with it, and they've just been doing that for years. So don't ask people who are not open to advise you, because they're just going to tell you the standard default. I've always experimented and gone, okay, well, let's see. Everything I'm teaching in the course, I've tried myself. I don't do anything unless I've actually tried it, and I've gone, yeah, okay, this works, and usually integrate it into my life, that I'm doing it kind of regularly. And it's like, okay, this works as an integrative practice, because if it's not sustainable, then why are you teaching it? It needs to work on an ongoing basis. So I'm convinced, people should be fasting regularly as just a part of their life, 12 to 16 hours a day, and it tunes your system up. You become more robust. It boosts your immune system. You lower your disease, all kinds of benefits, as you can see. And then spiritually, you're just starting to detach from that idea that you need this food substance to all the time to kind of just make you feel okay. I mean, it's quite a dependency. Every few hours, like, oh no, I've got to eat again. I mean, whatever, but that's an addiction. If you look at it, you're dependent on this substance. So just start breaking that a little bit. And I'm not saying don't eat anything. I think it may be possible that you could be a breatharian. I think that probably is. But then
so do you find you don't get hungry? You don't sort of, your body's adapted to not feeling hungry.
Yeah, but that's just like, it's a sensation. That's all it is. Okay, so my stomach's kind of empty now, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just like sitting there, and I'm like, if I'm engaging or working, I don't even notice it. It's just I'm just my focus is elsewhere.
Yes.
And then I just go, okay, at some point, yeah, all right, well, maybe I'll have a meal now, because I have one decent meal a day, and that's it. And
how much water are you drinking? Because I never get thirsty, which is quite a concern. I don't drink enough water. How much water do you drink?
I have so I make a little brew of I've got 2 slices of lemon and some ginger, cut ginger, fresh ginger, and I put some apple cider vinegar in here, and I just I sip that through the day, and then at night, just for a bit of variation, I'll switch to rooibos tea. But I'm sipping that all the time, so it's like continuously hydrating all the time.
I'll try that.
Yeah, so good. Just a few basics, right? I'm going to talk about one of them today. If you get your diet right, your eating habits, drinking, proper hydration.
Yeah, that's a problem for me. I don't get thirsty.
Yeah, well,
I just don't get thirsty. I know, but I don't enjoy drinking just water, so I need to work on that.
You could. I mean, it's hot there, so you could have put some cold water in the fridge with some ginger and lemon, and just use that. Nice sip cold water, and just if you're working at your computer or whatever, just have a glass of water. Just sip it.
Let me get some right now. Now.
Okay.
Because I've had nothing, no water today at all.
So, yeah, that's not good. In Durban's heat as well.
In the heat.
Because it's really humid there.
Yeah.
And that's another major thing, not hydrating properly puts the body into an acidic state, makes you much more prone to
the pain, the toxin.
Yeah.
But what about if I were to add a little bit of like apple juice? But it's like 100% apple juice, but it's got all the other preservatives and shit they all have. None of them are clean.
Well, I use apple
Not a
cider
good
vinegar.
idea.
I use apple cider vinegar, so it gives a little bit of a taste, just a little. And it's apple cider vinegar is actually an alkalizer.
Let me try some. I'm going to put some in.
Yeah, it just gives it a little bit of taste, and you make it a bit more interesting. So
okay, I've got some here.
Yeah, give it a
A
try.
friend brought me the other day, so maybe there's a reason for it.
So let's talk about another basic system, which is breathing. So just conscious breathing is again something that people many people just don't do. We've got this amazing mechanism of breath, and most people pay no attention to it at all their entire life. They're not conscious of it. It just happens. I was speaking to someone the other day, and I said, how do you breathe? She said, I'm not even aware of how I breathe. I don't know. Breathing just happens. I'm running around, and so I'm like, okay, well, let's just pause, stop, and notice how you're breathing. And she's breathing very shallowly, and then just by breathing in and out through the lungs, nice deep diaphragmatic breaths, she's saying, oh, but there's a bit of a stress there. I'm feeling that's actually quite hard because the lungs aren't used to it. Just a nice deep rhythmical pattern. So again, there's a readjustment. If you haven't been breathing properly for years and years, then there is going to be a readjustment, but that's good. Just start correctly breathing, and your body will readjust. And then you reset your mind as well. So part of body mind are wrapped up together. So shallow breathing goes tends to go with reactivity, with high stress levels. Whenever you notice, if ever you're feeling really stressed, your breathing will tend to be shallower. And at the extreme, in a panic attack, people can't breathe, and they start gasping for air through their mouth. There's a movie called As It Is in Heaven. Watch it, because there's a panic attack shown in there. Lovely movie as well. Great message.
Write that down.
And Swedish movie, subtitles. Beautiful movie. And there's a pastor there who's very kind of rigid in his mindset, and he's freaking out so much that he can't breathe. He's like, and that's all mentally induced. It was just and that's what happens. And then breathing through your mouth just takes you into this fight or flight response mode, which activates cortisol and adrenaline, puts your body into a state of high stress. Whereas if you breathe in,
What's this movie actually about?
It's briefly, it's a movie about a conductor who goes back to his old town. So he's a very successful conductor. He's left that little Swedish village in the north of Sweden, and he's gone. He's now international success. But then he kind of hits a wall. His health is bad. He collapses, and they say, no, you can't do this anymore. You have to go and recover. So he goes back to his hometown, and then it's how he interacts with the people that he knew when he was younger, and he brings in, because he's into music, he starts teaching the choir, and he brings in a whole new energy, consciousness. And the choir, everyone's like, loves his choir. They don't want to go to the church. They want to go to the choir, because the choir's got life and energy, and he gets everyone excited, and they enter a singing competition. And then I won't spoil the whole plot, but it's beautiful, lovely spiritual message, and how he helps people to overcome their fears. And their the one woman is being abused by her husband, who was the guy who bullied him when he was a kid, and he helps her to break out of that through the music, through singing, through like claiming her power. Very inspirational. Yeah, lovely movie. And just in it, there's the pastor, who's obviously very resistant to this, has a panic attack, because he's just freaking out so much, because the guy's pushing his his comfort zone and his control of that community so much that he's like, he can't deal with it, and he puts himself into a total panic. So yeah, it's just interesting to observe that. And I was like breathing through the mouth, always breathing through the mouth when people are in panic. If you breathe through your nose, deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing, you will find that you just can't get stressed. It's a bit, if you're doing deep, slow, rhythmical breathing, like, stress disappears because you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So we've got two nervous systems. The one is sympathetic, that activates fight or flight response and cortisol and adrenaline. It's designed to get us very G'd up for some kind of emergency. So you need emergency energy right now in the next 5 minutes or you're going to die. That's what that system was created for. Of course, most of the time, 99.99% of the time, maybe 99.5% of the time in South Africa, depending on where you are, it's not a life-threatening situation. You don't have that. It's just a little stress at home or at work, and then you react in this fight or flight response way, and that triggers all of these cortisol and adrenaline. So the same lady, I was talking about, I was doing some breath coaching. She said that she's got adrenal fatigue. She's been diagnosed adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is just too much cortisol and adrenaline continuously coming into your system, and then your body starts getting fatigued on that. It's an overload of toxic chemicals. Those are toxic chemicals in overload. So to come back to the COVID thing, if you get people in a state of intense fear and they're producing these chemicals, then those chemicals are poisoning them, and an overload of those stress chemicals will put your body into a reaction, which you can then call COVID-19. So it's ingenious, really. That's I believe what's happening. But then what else would you expect from the ego? This is what it does. It totally inverts the truth. It's upside down. It inverts cause and effect. It's distorted. But fortunately, there's all these practices that help us to connect with our spirit and the truth. These spiritual practices have been around for thousands of years, and the reason they've been around for thousands of years is that they work, and they do connect you with a deeper presence, and they do bring you into the present moment. So this idea of breath giving us life is a very ancient one. In the ancient languages, Latin, the word for spiritus means breath. That's what it means. Pneuma, the Greek, means breath, but it also means soul or spirit. So there was this idea that it's the breath, what you're breathing, but it's also the soul and the spirit, and that these were connected, that your breath was connected. And I mentioned the other day in that session, if you say the name of, in Hebrew, Yahweh, it's an aspirant breath, isn't it? Yah, inhale, exhale. So the name of God is the breath. Yod, Hey, Fa, Hey. That's another name of God. It's an aspirant. The words have the breath in them, don't they? So it's very interesting. If you start, like, the name of God is related to the breath, and in all the most of the names of God, Allah, it's an aspirant, isn't it? Allah.
But in Hebrew, God is. It's not Yahweh. It's either Hashem or Adonai.
Okay.
I've never heard of Yahweh. I don't know. That's
Yahweh. Well, Yahweh was the old name. They used to call Jehovah Yahweh.
Yahweh.
That was Old Testament name. Yahweh. So what's in a name? But the name, the breath is in the name. That's what's in there. Yeah, but it's a ha. Look, it's a ha sound. Ha. So the name of God in these ancient cultures was always, there was an aspirant. The word reflected the breath. Ha. There's a ha. There's a breath sound to it, isn't there? Ha. Shem. Ha.
Yeah.
See. And so it's in the language. In Hawaii, ha. It's a ha sound. They've named their whole the tribe and the island after the breath. Ha means breath. So it's embedded in there. It's an absolutely foundational part of spirituality. It's probably where spirituality started. People started breathing consciously. Imagine sitting by a stream and you're just breathing, and people are like, oh, okay, this is nice. I'm getting into the flow. I'm just in the now. This feels good. And then, you know, even then they would have had people who get stressed, and then that person would become a teacher and say, well, no, well, just breathe. Just watch your breath. And you'll find you come into the present moment when you're breathing. And this is what the Buddha came, you know, just through his own experience. So it's embedded into the Vipassana, the breath watching, just watching, consciously watching the breath. Is you do that for 3 days. That's the foundation of the practice, and then you move into body awareness. Because if you can't even watch your breath, then how likely are you to be able to just observe your entire body? So it's you know, baby steps. And the German, this is for Katie. In German, the word for breathing, atmen, is derived from the ancient Sanskrit word atman, which means the indwelling divine spirit or God within. So in Genesis, God formed the man from the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. The man became a living being. So in all the ancient teachings, the breath is pretty foundational. It's a way that we connect with the life essence and the life source energy within us, which we can call God in a word. Probably the easiest, simplest way, because it's always there, it's available to you 24/7, and you can just become conscious of it at any point. So it's a very powerful key spiritual practice, which is why it's in all the breath breaks, all the meditations. It's a foundational. You just start breathing, becoming aware of the breath. And by doing that, you start to undo this monkey mind, all of this chatter in the mind. If you just focus on the breathing, that starts to dissipate, because you're putting your attention onto a single point of focus, which is the breath and the sensations of the breath. So that's why the Buddha said, focus all of your attention on the breathing in your nostrils. He said, just focus on the area in your nostrils and on this little area below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Focus all your attention there. That's all. So a very, very sharp point of focus. And keep bringing your mind back to that. Because the mind wants to jump all over the place, monkey mind, think about this, think about that, past, future. And most people, they have no mind control. Their mind's all over the place. Being influenced continuously by the external world. So the perceptions of the external world continuously trigger them into reacting. And that's the fight or flight response mode, usually in an unhelpful way, with desire or fear. So that's what the Buddha noticed. Desire, craving keeps you out of the present moment. It keeps you away from the sense of equanimity, because you always, oh, no, I need that now. And it's very subtle, but the mind wants to go there. Oh, I need that. And so he said, well, desire is the source of all suffering, because it takes you away from who you are now, from this present moment where everything's okay. You're okay as you are right now in the present moment. The mind keeps telling you you're not. Oh, no, you need this to happen. Or then the flip side of that is, oh, you're worried that this will happen, so you want to avoid that. So now you have aversion. That's the other side of it, craving and aversion. And aversion is just another form of craving, because you're wanting to avoid something. So you're seeking to avoid. Again, you're not okay as you are. This is the message your ego is always telling your mind. No, you're not okay as you are. You need to do something to improve your state. So that's desire. Or you need to avoid something. So you need to take kind of measures to prevent. And all of that moves you away from the knowledge that you are okay right now as you are. Because that is as God created you. You're perfect, you're whole, you're complete right now in this present moment. Just by breathing consciously and observing the breath, it takes you into that. You will notice that feeling starts to arise. And obviously, the more and more it arises, the more you stay rooted in that essence, the more that carries through into your life. So you do this as a regular practice, then it carries through into the rest of your life, and you start feeling less anxious, less stressed. You're not desiring anything so much, and you start to detach from this whole system that's been created to feed the ego, which we live in. The society that we live in feeds the ego. You start to withdraw from it and detach from it. which means that you're probably not going to be a very compliant person or a very good customer for many businesses. So of course, there's, the ego doesn't want you to do this. It wants you to stay attached to and addicted to the external world. Whereas these spiritual practices take you in the opposite direction, which actually empower you. Now you become what's called field independent. Your locus of control is internal, because you're connecting with the internal source. You're like, it's all coming from within me. I'm not bothered by what the news says or what government says, or it's all here. It's in me, and I'm connecting to that power, and I'm just letting that guide me. And now you become a truly powerful person who can potentially be very useful in society, who can help other people to do that same transformation, which, to relate it to yesterday's session, is the hero's journey. So all of this is bound up in this hero's journey that we all take. These practices are how you walk the talk. If you're not doing it, then how are you going to do this? How are you going to have a transformation of your mind if you're not practicing? You're waiting then for life to hit you over the head with a baseball bat. That's, as I said, the way of the cross. That can work, but it's not a very proactive way. It's just like, okay, well, I'm going to go along unconsciously until I whack my head against a brick wall. It's really sore, and then maybe I'll wake up. This is, consciously practicing these techniques is now being proactive about. And
just going to get some more water, John.
Okay.
I'll be a sec. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so any thoughts or questions, John? I mean, we've done quite a bit of breathing, but it's worth just returning to and reminding us.
I liked what you said yesterday about the hero's journey. Is that we've actually got to find the hero within us to choose our higher self over our ego.
Yeah.
And what I liked as well was that you said the ego will intervene, but so will divine intervention, because, and that example you gave of divine intervention, when John had called his friend.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely when that happens, it does. We all know that thing.
Well, you had the same thing. A friend of yours, yours just sent you an email, and you went, oh.
She's like not even into this sort of thing, really.
So why did she do that? Random. She sends it to you, and then it resonates with you, and then here you are. So these are things that are there to help you. You get these little synchronicities and connections to help you on your journey, and if you trust that help is always there, no matter what obstacle, no matter what challenge you're facing, it's always there. The help and the guidance is there.
It was more obvious in the case of what was her name, the other woman who's doing the course, because she said she knew she was going to do something in the way of Course of Miracles, because she was looking at a few courses. I wasn't. So, we can read into that as well, divine intervention, I think. But when you have that synchronicity thing, for sure. Well, that's when I feel I really, sometimes things happen and you can feel it. You feel guided. You feel that kind of support coming from a much greater source, power. Yes,
and that's the miracle.
So,
synchronicity.
So do you think the more you do this kind of work, the more you're going to experience that thing?
Yeah, you do. Definitely. More of these sort of synchronicities start happening as you tap into the flow. Right. So in one of his quotes, Deepak Chopra saying, there's two symptoms of enlightenment. All right. The one is that you're not worrying so much anymore. So this monkey mind is not chattering away, continuously taking you into the future. So you're much more present. And the second one is that you have these synchronicities happening more and more in your life. That these beneficial events that you can't plan this stuff. Who knows? I mean, at the start of this year, we didn't even know each other. You don't even know that exists as a potential. And then something comes around, and it's there for you because that's the next step in your journey. And then you have a choice. Do you listen or not? You always have a choice. You're going to listen to the voice that's asking you to go out of your comfort zone and to progress, or are you going to listen to the ego, which wants to just keep you stuck in
What did you say those two things were? Which Deepak Chopra, the one was 2 signs of enlightenment. Stop worrying, and the other one?
So the first one is that you stop worrying so much or at all eventually. And the second one is that more of these synchronicities
more synchronicity
are happening as just you start recognizing this is the way to live. This is how you should. It's not like something extraordinary. It's part of your life. So I call it extraordinary ordinary. It's happening all the time. And it just becomes the new default. I expect that synchronicities and miracles are happening and that there are these connections, and I just go with it. And I'm in the flow. I'm not resisting so much, because we block ourselves. Who blocks you? You do. Because there's this voice in you. So here's the hero's journey. Again, it's an article I've sent you a link to. You can read it. Because there's some deep teaching here. It's Joseph Campbell. And so this is the cycle, the call to adventure. Then you get aid, supernatural aid will come in some form, and that doesn't mean like some master appearing to you, or something, or vision. It just you get an email from a friend you haven't heard of for years. That's a form of supernatural aid. You also have these threshold guardians, which would seem to block you. So there's a force that wants you not to do this, and that's going to stop you. And sometimes that wins out. It stops people taking the journey. So, for instance, with your daughter, there were some threshold guardians there going, no, don't do that. So she's not here, because that's more powerful at this stage than the call to adventure. But there might come a point where she's ready to go, okay, this becomes increasingly uncomfortable. The known world of just in your ego repeating the same patterns over and over again becomes eventually untenable for everyone, because they hit a point where it's like, I have to change. Although my ego is telling me this is comfort and safety, there's another part of it saying, I'm really not happy here. It's become too uncomfortable. And so then you have a call to adventure. I need to move. I need to change. And that's the first step, saying there must be a better way. Remember Helen and Bill, there must be a better way. That was the call for them to go on an adventure. They didn't go anywhere physically, but they certainly went on a spiritual trip with Jesus, and the call was, there must be a better way.
I find it very weird.
We get guidance, we get helpers and mentors and guidance through all the challenges and temptations to keep us going on the path, because there is a force, the Holy Spirit, that wants you to do this work. It wants you to take the hero's journey, to go through the death of the ego, because that's what this abyss, death and rebirth is. You have a revelation of your true self. You've had a true transformation, and then you've come to at-one-ment. You recognize that I am one with my source, and therefore I'm one with everything the source created, which is everything. This is the enlightened state. And you come back, having had an experience of that, into the world. And you return in and you bring those gifts, it's called the gift of the goddess. You bring it back into the known world, and then you can become an agent of transformation. So, for instance, Jesus goes out of his comfort zone. He goes into the desert for 40 days and faces the challenges and the temptations of the devil. It's recorded in the Bible. Goes through some kind of revelation experience, comes back, and he's transformed. His mind is now the Christ mind, and he really understands. And then he goes on his ministry for 3 years to teach this what he's come to understand, into a society that goes, where does this get this from? He's like on another planet, because he's bringing in something from a higher self and a higher consciousness in another realm, and that's needed in the society. That the society needs some renewal and regeneration. It needs new ideas in order to advance, and he certainly did progressed. As a result, many changes happen in society, which were beneficial and positive. Yes, the message did get distorted and got used to create another control system, but at the same time, there was an idea of forgiveness, an idea of love, an idea of mercy, which really hadn't been there in Western society before. that then came into some kind of predominance. Every Christian understands that forgiveness is what you should do. They don't always do it, but that this is what the teaching is. You should be forgiving your brother. So this is how the world changes. One person going on his or her journey can change the world. If that is powerful enough, a powerful enough experience. And as I mentioned, Martin Luther, another one, he went through this experience. He had a mystical experience where he recognized that by grace we are saved. It's not by works. It's just by this force of grace. And he was able to let go of a lot of his sin and guilt. And the Reformation was really just saying that actually we're saved not by works but by grace. And it doesn't, like all of these rituals that the church had to deal with people's sin and guilt, which were very corrupt. They were getting them to pay money to alleviate their sins. I mean, he said that's just outrageous and ridiculous. And so he challenged that, and that was the basis of the Reformation, which again was a revolution in consciousness that transformed European society and world society, because without the Reformation we may not have had Western democracy. That was the foundation, and of the Renaissance and so on. So one man's insight, his hero's journey, leads to a profound transformation in the society. And those are two examples, but this happens over and over in history. You can see history is related to the hero's journey. Each person doing the hero's journey, one person doing this powerfully can change the world, which is really inspiring. You are capable of doing world-changing things and really transforming people's mindsets if you go there yourself, and if you're really centered in that, and you've gone through this journey. You can, on whatever level. It may not be the whole world, but who knows? Don't limit yourself. It's possible. Maybe it's just your immediate circle of friends and family, but that's okay too, because the whole point is to take the journey and have that transformation of consciousness. That's the point. So we'll revisit the hero's journey, as we go, because it's really what you're doing. It's what you're undertaking through doing this work. Okay, so any questions on the hero's journey? Any questions on breathing, breath work, conscious breathing? Katie?
No questions.
No questions. Okay, so maybe let's do some breathing. We'll do a guided meditation with some diaphragmatic breathing. So this is the foundational practice of breath work. It's a basic pranayama in the Eastern yogic tradition. They have pranayama, which means literally breath control. And it just starts with being able to observe this basic pattern of diaphragmatic breathing. And this is incorporated in, again, all the meditations and the breath breaks I send you. We do some diaphragmatic breathing. So it's worth just getting a handle on it, making sure you're doing it properly, and that you can just start to experience this phenomenon of watching your breath and getting very quieting the mind in and through the breath. This is what in fact, Katie, do you want to read this for us? Read today's quote, because it's a nice lead into the meditation. Can you read that, or should I? Let me zoom in a bit. There we go. Katie, are you there? Can you read the quote for us?
I'll read it.
All right, you read it.
Because breath has no form as such, it has since ancient times been equated with spirit, the formless one life. The fact that breath has no form is one of the reasons why breath awareness is an extremely effective way of bringing space into your life, of generating consciousness. Being aware of your breath forces you into the present moment, the key to all inner transformation. Whenever you are conscious of breath, you are absolutely present. You may also notice that you cannot think and be aware of your breathing. conscious breathing stops your mind. Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, so that's so stating it quite clearly. It's just saying what the Buddha noticed 2,500 years ago. That's why in the Vipassana technique, the breath is foundational. Just watching, just breath watching, because it does stop the mind and it brings you into the present moment and it connects you with your source. And it's such a simple practice. So simple, so easy to do. Elaine, we can only see the top half of your head, just so you know.
I know, the thing is, I'm just sitting on the floor now because I was moving over to do some meditation on the floor.
Oh, right. Okay, that's fine.
So
so that's the principle, but let's apply it in a meditation, shall we?
Okay, so I'm
all about
just going to move over.
Experiential. Okay, so let's stop that. I'm going to start the med. Okay. All right. I'm just going to put you on mute. Okay, so just making yourselves comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight, close your eyes. And start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, and then the chest rises. Put one hand on your stomach just to make sure that's happening. So that's a full inhale breath. Pause at the top of the inhale. Just become aware of any thoughts and emotions going on, any sensations in the body. And you're just going to let them go with the help of your breath. So you exhale out through your nose and just have a sense of releasing them. Just blowing them away with the breeze of your breath, like dark clouds. That image helps you, then just use it. And at the bottom of the exhale, you come into an emptiness. For a few seconds, appreciate the stillness that arises. And then you breathe in again. Make sure the stomach is inflating first. So keep your hand on your stomach, and then the chest. So that's a full inhale breath. The lungs fill up. You might pause for a second or two. Just appreciate the stillness and the gap between breaths. And then you exhale out through your nose. Make a little sighing sound back of your throat. So this sighing sound is called the Ujjayi breath, or victory breath, means in yoga. So you just contract the throat a little bit. So you're fogging sunglasses so that you keep your mouth closed. Makes a little sound, contracts the stomach muscles a bit, and it just forces more air out. So the idea is you're emptying completely so that you can take a full inhale breath. On the next inhale, breathing in. And as you empty, you create a vacuum. In the presence of a vacuum, the air wants to rush in. So again, it just helps. Take a deeper, fuller breath and exhale out through your nose again. And just getting into a rhythm with this breathing. Find your own rhythm of inhaling, pausing if you feel that's right, and then exhaling, or you just flow one to the other. On the inhale, just very brief pause, less than a second, and then you roll into the exhale. And then at the bottom of the exhale, you move into the next inhale. So it's just smooth connection. One phase of the breath leads into the next, maybe these little pauses in between, and you just get into the rhythm of it. There's a flow, and you're not really doing it. So there's a thing with breath watching. You're not really doing it. You're just being breathed. You're allowing the breath just to happen to you, through you, and for you. Just letting it roll. Inhale to exhale. Exhale leads into the inhale. And you step back and you just observe the sensations of the breath. So notice the stomach rising and the chest rising. Notice the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. In through the nostrils and then out through the nostrils. You notice there's a sensation as that happens. And then it repeats. So just focus all your attention on this subtle sensation of the breath in your nostrils. Then flow in and out from the nostrils. Focus all the attention on the sensations in the nostrils. And you might notice a little touch of the breath, very subtle. The idea is you're tuning your mind into the subtlety of this. Notice the touch of the breath, the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Very subtle. As you breathe in, there's a slight touch of the breath. And then as you exhale, there's a touch of the breath. And you just tune all your attention, focus all your attention on these subtle sensations. Of the breath. There's really nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to think about. Just focus on the breath. Relax. Be still. Have a sense of the breath just happening to you, through you, and for you. So there's no conscious stressing, straining, or striving. It's just flowing through you. So you are not really doing it. You are being done through, you are being breathed. And so you might find a sense of detachment from the body, though you're observing the sensations in the body. You are now identifying with the observer, the witness, that is aware of these sensations. but is not the sensations. You are not the breath. The breath can connect you with your true awareness. And this is the powerful application of this breathing technique, is that it opens your mind up to your source. Just pure formless awareness. Becoming aware of itself, and the breath just quietens the mind. Just by focusing all your attention on the breath, you quiet your mind and open your mind to the source, which naturally arises if you just focus on the breath and there's no other thoughts and emotions going on, then your mind is quiet and open and empty, spacious, and this spacious awareness, pure formless awareness, is your true nature. So a very, very simple practice of breathing can connect you with your true nature, your source, the indwelling spirit, the Atman within you. That's why the ancient languages have breath, same word for breath, word also for soul or spirit, because breath is a pathway into the soul, the spirit, this pure formless awareness that is at the foundation of your mind, the ground of being, it's been called, foundational awareness. The I am presence simply is. Or I am this or I am that. It's I am that I am. Which in the Old Testament was the name of God. The I am that I am. And then that came into expression in some of the ancient names. Yahweh. Yahweh. It's an aspirate, it's a breath. The name of God is in the breath. So, just for a few minutes of deep silence, just watch the breath. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. For the next few minutes, just step back and observe the breath. And let it just happen, let yourself be breathed, and each breath go deeper, deeper and deeper into the source, the true awareness of your mind that is God, is pure formless awareness. And just allow that awareness to arise. You can't force it. You simply let go of your other thoughts by focusing all your attention on the breath. And it will come, it will arise in your experience. And then you come to know God, your source, experientially, rather than just as a concept. So I'll leave you to it for a few minutes. Deep silence, just breathe, relax, watch your breath. and be still and know that you are God. You are this pure formless awareness. Let that experience arise in your own awareness. For the next few minutes of deep silence. If any thoughts arise, you disturb this deep peace of pure formless awareness. Thoughts about the past, the future, really any thought, any subject-object thought, dualistic in nature. I think and perceive this. My subject, perceive object is not required in this pure formless awareness. You can just observe that. This is how your mind works, but it's not how your mind has to work. You can let these thoughts go and any emotions they engender. So just do that by breathing, exhale, and just release the breath. Let go of any attachment to those thoughts. And the emotions and the sensations, this whole movement of the mind. And you just let go of that, release that. So the nothingness that it really is. And you return your attention to the breath. Just observing the subtle sensations of the breath, flowing into and out of the nostrils, and the touch of the breath in the area just below your nose. For another minute or two of deep silence. So just coming back very gently into the body. When you slipped off there, drifted into this state of mind where you weren't really aware of the body. You start to become aware of it again. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just noticing stomach rise and the chest rise. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Feel some subtle life energy rising up the spine as you do that. Pause at the top of the inhale. And just check in and scan your mind. So noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations going on. Anything that feels at all negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape, or form. And you release it with the breath. Exhale, blow it out to your mouth or your nose. Exhale it out. Just releasing all of it, emptying yourself. So there's this spacious awareness in your mind, no thought, just pure formless awareness arising as your awareness. This is the mystical merging of the Son and the Father, which is the your mind extension of pure formless awareness, and its source, which is pure formless awareness itself, and they are one. There is no separation, there is no distinction. And so just by watching your breath, you connect with your source. This is how powerful the breath is. So on the count of 2, just noticing the weight of your body, pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. If you're sitting on the floor, just notice the sensations of your buttocks on the floor, the cushion. Noticing what you're feeling in your body. There's a subtle flow of air in your skin. As you breathe in again, notice any smell in your nose. We don't usually pay attention to the sense of smell, so notice. Just observe. So you're coming back into sensory awareness, but in this very present way. So it's just observing the sensations without attachment, without judgment. Notice what you're tasting, notice what you're hearing, without judgment, without interpretation. You just notice these things arise, they're sensations, and they pass away. And you notice that these things just come and they go. This is the ever-changing nature of the world of illusion in which we live. But you don't have to give these ever-changing patterns, they are like the cloud patterns in our visualization, any reality. They just come and they go. They blow through your mind. And the more you allow them to do that, the more you become aware of what's underneath them, which is the blue sky, clear blue sky beyond the clouds. That's your true awareness. Start to become rooted in that awareness. And this awareness brings you peace and happiness and joy. There is no happiness and no peace and no love and no joy outside of this awareness. So we say in the word God is, in the phrase God is love. God is this pure formless awareness that is infinite and open and eternal, has no limitations, no borders, no boundaries, no barriers. So there seems to be an opposite to it. The opposite of love, it's pure formless awareness, is fear, seemingly, but in truth, there is no opposite. What is all-encompassing can have no opposite, as we learned yesterday in the introduction to the text. So just stay in this awareness, stay connected to it. And the breath is the key. So as you go through the afternoon, just keep some awareness on your breathing. And feel like you need to top yourself up, you can listen to Breath Break I sent you this morning, or this recording, which is going on the WhatsApp group. Just a couple of minutes of conscious breathing, just observing the breath for 10 breaths is a great way to just reconnect to the source and release any stress, any anxiety. So you're going to stay connected to this pure formless awareness through the breath for the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. So it's said, so it's done. And then open your eyes. Count to 3, just taking a minute to look around, ground yourself back into this seeming reality, observing various objects in the room around you. Again, with equanimity, detachment, you don't name anything, judge it, label it, interpret it. It's just there, you let it be for a few seconds and move on. Look at something else, notice that the same awareness is still there. And then again, move on to something else, same awareness. And so you're learning that this awareness is your foundation. It's the ground of being, it's always there. And you can always stay rooted in it, stay connected to it, and not allow your monkey mind to get a hold again and start thinking all kinds of useless thoughts, which are just taking you away from that awareness. That's their only purpose. So I hope this meditation has helped you to connect with your own indwelling divine spirit, your own pure formless awareness, and that you stay there for the rest of the afternoon until our next session this evening. Thank you, everyone, and namaste.
Thank you, Jono. I think so.
Bye for now. I'll see you this evening.
Ah.
Oh, you're not joining this evening?
We won't be there tonight, John.